The world was never easy and straightforward to understand, and most likely, it never will be. There are tons of things we don't know about it, tons of questions we have been asking, and despite tons of answers we have got, we still aren't sure which one is the correct answer. The good thing is, if we didn't have intellectual situations and intellectual curiosity to deal with them, the world would not be such an interesting place to live in. So, to help you exercise your brain cells, here are 10 exceedingly interesting intellectual problems or paradoxes that cannot be true, should not be true, but still are true, and probably cannot be solved. Check these out. If everyone was ignorant in the world, probably the world would be happier because ignorance is bliss. The real reason we have all the unhappiness in the world is because some wise people discovered that actually our ignorance is tragic. Interestingly, this sounds somewhat similar to the story of Adam and Eve. God wanted Adam and Eve to be happy. They ate the apple of knowledge and became unhappy. So, is knowledge the real reason of unhappiness? If we were all happy, we would eventually stop growing mentally, and stop wanting to know. If we stop growing, we would die out and may even become extinct. Since developing, growing, and knowing are intensely crucial for our evolution, that means happiness is detrimental to humans as a species. And so is contentment and satisfaction. But then, if we know happiness is dangerous for us, why do we all seek happiness? And then, who is happy? The one who knows there's a problem and he can avert it, or one who has no knowledge of impending problem? What constitutes a difficult life? Why do people say their life is difficult? Isn't everyone's life difficult according to their unique personal set of capacity, conditions, character and circumstances? Ask any artist, businessman, engineer, doctor, lawyer, policeman, soldier, teacher, nurse, husband, wife, elderly, student, overworking, unemployed, entrepreneur, or just about anyone living as anything. They all say their life is difficult. Even children and teenagers believe their life is difficult. Even a baby's life is difficult in this respect. But then, aren't some people having really indisputably difficult life? Such as a foreign undercover spy, a country head, a terminally ill patient, a homeless, or a prisoner of war. Then why do even babysitters, pizza delivery boys, or well-placed healthy happy people complain that their life is difficult? Do they ever give this factor a thought? Are we guilty of animal racism? Although veganism and vegetarianism is increasingly on the rise, most of us love animals and are also meat eaters, which, if we look closely, is something of a problem really. How can we love animals, and eat them too without being self-contradictory? Isn't it equivalent to animal racism? How can we love some, protect some, rescue some, spend fortunes on some, and kill some for food? Excluding eating the animals we keep as pets does not do justice to the concept of animal love. Because if we genuinely love animals we just cannot eat them. Isn't the only reason behind this obvious animal racism, our love of the taste of meat that we find too delicious to give up, no matter how much we may love animals and believe in animal rights? How is life of a cute, cuddly, fluffy little chicken who is not even a pest or dangerous, different from that of a dog, a cat or a blue whale? The duck problem. Honesty dictates we call duck a duck. Political correctness and diplomacy asserts, we can't, shouldn't, and don't call duck a duck. Tolerance and acceptance advise, just accept the duck as duck. Psychology proposes, it is not a duck but a lion. Spirituality professes, we all are ducks and nobody is one. So the problem is, if we can't call duck a duck, must call duck a duck, must accept duck as duck, must believe it's a duck but is not a duck, then how are we supposed to deal with this duck at all? Tell the duck it's a lion, but believe it is a duck on therapy for hallucination? So, what is this duck after all? A duck who is not a duck, but a duck, but still not a duck, but still a duck? This is very confusing. The soul problem. We cannot exist without our soul, yet nobody has seen it. It is supposed to reside within ourselves, yet we have never experienced it, and don't even know where in our body its seat might be. It is, allegedly, as powerful as God, yet nobody and nothing, not even the most powerful computer, can detect it. Scientifically and physically, there's no proof of its existence, yet everyone swears by it. According to quantum physics, it neither exists, nor should, yet most of us cannot deny there's some such thing as soul. So, what is soul after all? Where is it, if there is one? How can it be that world's every religion, every god, every ancient literature talks about it, but scientists won't hear of it? They dismiss it outright, laugh at its very concept, and don't even agree to research it, although they willingly research on planets and galaxies billions of light years away. Since soul can't be seen or detected, it is assumed not to exist. But the question is, how can something affect us so strongly, when it does not even exist? Bigger question, why does everyone talk about it, when nobody has seen it? Can it be that the soul is very much there, but we aren't advanced enough to detect it? Who is the real boss? Our office bosses aside, we all like to believe we are our own boss. We do what we want, work as what we want, and love and live how we want, with little to no interference from any quarter. Clearly, this means we are our own boss. Right? No, not quite. Actually, it poses a serious question. If we only do as we please, only do what we like, only live as we want, then isn't our heart, our desires, and our mind our real boss, since we are doing what our desires, heart and mind tell us to? When we can't do as we please, someone else is the boss. When we do as we please, still someone else is the boss. Is there any time when we don't have a boss? Interestingly, when we look all around ourselves, our whole world appears to be full of hundreds of much bigger bosses, secretly micro-controlling our every desire, every thought, every hope and fear, every aspect, every decision, every emotion, even every step, every breath and every second of our life. Technically, this makes us as free, independent, and our own boss, as a tiny fly is, in a monster spider's web. Who am I? Since the beginning of humanity, humans have been asking this question, and never found an answer thereof. This question, who am I, still remains unanswered, and probably always will be. Who are we after all? We know, we are not just our physical body, because this body returns back to earthly elements, and they say he or she has ceased to live, which means, we are something much more than just a physical body. But, what is that? How is it possible that we live our whole life without knowing who we are, searching for that someone who we are but we don't know, and seeking for something that is inside us, and is still impossible to find? Why should finding ourselves be an eternally impossible riddle? Bigger question, if no one knows who we are, then how do we know we are not who we are, but someone else? It is so mind-boggling. The hidden secret about psychological disorders. Think of world's all-famous saints, prophets, geniuses, thinkers, philosophers, intellectuals, scientists, mathematicians, engineers, authors, poets, inventors, explorers, conquerors. They all had surprisingly one thing in common. Their minds saw their world differently, thought differently, worked differently, reacted differently, and lived differently than other normal people who saw their world as normal, thought normally, worked normally, reacted normally, and lived normally. Our brilliant Da Vinci, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Gandhi, Luther, Mandela, Einstein, Tesla, etc., have influenced and shaped our world in so many ways. If we could peep inside their minds, what would we find? Apart from a different, high-functioning, busy mind, we would stumble upon at least one, or in some cases, many psychological disorders. That's right. These extraordinary people, who worked hard to spread their unique ideas, were, according to modern psychological assessment, suffering from one or several psychological disorders, since they did things that normal, psychologically fit people never do. All our great religious personalities, religious leaders, saints and prophets including Jesus, Moses, Buddha or Krishna, were all likely psychologically disordered. They saw things. They heard things. They did things normal psychologically fit people never do. Most events in history can be easily traced back to someone's disorder. 99% of all characters in Bible, all other ancient religious books and mythologies, whether Egyptian, Sumerian, Biblical, Hindu, Roman, Norse or Greek, even all historical and fictional characters that you can right now think of, are replete with psychological disorders. The question is, if all these people were psychologically healthy, would the world be somehow different today? Would history be different? Would art, literature and poetry even exist? Would religions exist? Oh, wait. What about God? Let's imagine our omnipresent, omniscient God Almighty allows himself to be examined by our expert earthly psychologists. How do you think, would he be diagnosed? Won't he be full of multiple serious disorders? Does this mean that being normal is not only impossible but also terribly undesirable, uninteresting and boring? Science and God. What would life be like without modern science and technology? We have already experienced that in Stone Age. What would life be like without God? Aren't we already somewhat experiencing it? Well then, what can life be like without both modern science and technology, and God? A broad guess would be that if humanity in coming times happens to suffer an apocalypse and is reduced to near extinction, there may emerge a new kind of civilization that neither bends its head before a god nor before modern science, while it knows former to be nothing, and doesn't have latter anymore. That is, till it obtains it. On a side note, can it be that in old days science was identified as God, and nowadays God is identified as science? But that's just my opinion. Thanks for watching.